Hello, everyone. I am out here talking to you right now about something that I've seen going on and actually learned a little bit about it before I even made this video. Because this one thing had me curious, right? Into knowing what the catch was, knowing what the situation was, and that has to do with a brokerage that's out there. It's another what we consider to be a discounted brokerage to help, and I kind of use that word help lightly in this situation. For people who are looking to sell their house and buy their house. So, some of the things I look at with Rex for maybe a cheaper way of selling my house, just because I wanted to hear their pitch, how they do it, this, that, and the other, to know to bring this back to explain. So it really oddly, funny enough, thereafter the call, which has been about 4 or 5 days now, I never received a follow up call from them, even though I was being sincere. I really wanted to know more about what their pitch was and what they want to do. I was even willing to have that conversation over the phone, but because I wouldn't meet in person, they didn't want to do that. Unfortunately, I can't meet in person because of my schedule is busy helping other people. I'm not gonna do that at the moment. Especially when I already have a lot of the answers. I just want to know more about the other side of the model. So I'm bringing this information to you guys. I even in this post, you should see some of the main topics that I tend to cover. So if you guys, anybody that's out there currently that's watching this or anything of that nature, feel free to comment over there, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you're watching this now live, then great. I'll always get back to you on the live feed over here. But most importantly is I want to really cover the basis of EXP fan. I'm a little biased toward them because I am with them. I just happen to think that they have the best. Uh, well, let me rephrase that. I think they have one of the best, business models out there. But nonetheless, I want to go into. I want to go into this a little heavy for those that are for sale by owner, which is cool. This information, because by the way, statistically, just so everyone's aware, at some point or another, I don't know the exact numbers, but I know it's very high. Is at some point or another, somebody goes from for sale by owner to actually getting a real estate agent. Let me take these off. One of the reasons that happens essentially is because they, meaning that the person who's a for sale by owner, tends to get overwhelmed with some of the things that are happening, whether it's a lot of phone calls, whether it's a lot of people that want to come and see their house and so forth. There's a lot of reasons that for sale by owner gets overwhelmed and they actually transfer to a agent or a brokerage or however you want to say that. Now, what makes Rex so appealing in this whole scenario is the fact that they're saying, hey, we are only going to do the listing side at 2.5%. They're not paying. You're not paying a buyer side. You're not paying a buyer agent for that matter. And just so you guys know, I don't know the legality, so keep in mind I'm going to put a disclaimer that please, with any type of reference that you can go look this up, but it's out there. I don't know the details of this. I don't know certain things, but I do know that Rex, is currently and lawsuit with I believe it was the National Realtor Association as well as Zillow. Okay. Now the details I don't know. I don't know how far that is. I don't know anything about that. So as a disclaimer, don't quote that as factual information, because I want you guys to. There's tons of internet Google searches you can do, but to actually get the real news, the real story with those details if you want to. Okay. Nonetheless, I want to move forward and tell you that when you're talking about 2.5% coming from Rex and saying, I'm only going to charge you this, right? When it closes, we're not having you pay the buyer side. That is very appealing to a seller. Very appealing. Because why? They're saving so much money. Saving so much money on this, right? And, if you guys, for sale by owners or anybody else that's trying to sell their house, I will tell you right now that one of the biggest things that you guys are doing is to yourself when you go with these discount brokerages is that you're not necessarily reading the contract. I know that when I serve a contract to a seller or whatever, I'll, because especially if it's a house, I'm doing stuff in person at that point. I tend to go down through the contract and point out all the what I would consider quote unquote negative from a seller standpoint. You're like, well, I don't like that. I don't like this, because a lot of people don't read the contract. And if you're going with a non-traditional brokerage, I would be reading the contract even closer, because I'm trying to figure out where the catch is and why they're only charging 2.5%. Right? These are things that I look at. And, the reason that prompted me to make this video, if you will, is because I just kept on seeing this come up on my feed because I'm a realtor. So it tends, I start to see their advertisement quite a bit. And like I said, I did call them and I did, find out some information. If a couple things actually. So, and nonetheless, use Rex and you get a discounted service, which is wonderful because they're saving money. However, the problem becomes is what you're getting or what you're having to do for this considerably discounted service. Okay, so one thing that you got to realize is what are they doing? Who are they sending? So let's talk about this a second. Something I learned during the call when I had with them. One thing. So they have real estate agents that work for them for a salary. Okay. Now there's pros and cons to this avenue, right? The pro is that for them is that for you and them, I guess at this point, is that they're paying a salary. So that 2.5% that they're charging you is what their company gets paid, and then they're just paying a regular salary to the agents. The con to that whole thing is that for you, that agent ain't going to be hustling and bustling for you. They get paid regardless if your house sells or if it doesn't. It doesn't matter because they are hustling and bustling for every single thing when it's a commission-based agent. If you're out there, and they'll even get creative and try to figure things out for you. Use their brain, right? Listen, nothing against, but if your salary and sometimes you're not gonna hustle and bustle to put yourself. It's not gonna put somebody who's getting paid salary is not necessarily gonna put themselves in a corner to be able to get themselves out, because in their eyes they're getting paid regardless. I mean, if me or anybody for that matter, if I'm somewhere and I'm backed into a corner with a deal, like, oh my gosh, this ain't gonna close, I got to think outside the box to try to make it close, right? I got to figure out what avenues, what people, what resources I need to utilize to be able to make that happen. If you got a real estate agent that is a salary-based real estate agent, that's not gonna be. I couldn't foresee that happen. I don't want to say it won't happen, but I can tell you more times than not, it's probably not happening. Okay. And that's just my opinion. People, listen, if you guys are out there, I'm a very straight shooter when it comes to a lot of stuff. So if you find my opinion wrong, whatever, comment below. I'll be more than happy to respond to it. If you think that this is incorrect or whatever, I'm very happy to respond to this. And give me facts though. I'm giving you a fact of stuff that I've seen. This is based off of life experience, not nothing else that I've actually seen out there that's happened. Okay, in any salary position or any type of scenario. I won't go into some of the funny things that I've seen that's based around salary and so forth. But just imagine where you go, places you visit, businesses you go to that are salary based. I mean, not everybody's thinking outside the box. Not everybody's using the brain to be at a high functional level because they don't need to. That's the thing. They don't have to be at a high functional level because they're getting paid no matter what. And that's the point. So with that being said, I really want you guys to know that 2.5% of saving is great if you can make it happen. Now, with that being said, and you're talking to us, that if they're not going, this is the other thing. They do have options to go in MLS, but the moment that you put yourself in that option, you just now start paying the buyer agent because you're putting it in MLS. Okay, so. Also, they even told me over the phone, based on my notes, that this is the crazy thing, and I'm just basing off of the conversation I had with one of their representatives. Right? They told me that they advertise on Facebook. Right? So then they're like 30 to 40% of the time, the way that they're advertised on Facebook, which is through target marketing. I'll go into that in a minute. 30-40% of the time, there's a buyer agent coming to sell your house. Okay, now their whole thing is that you don't have to pay the buyer agent, and the buyer agent is obligated to still show that house. This is their pitch: still show your house without being paid. Now, in every situation, and whether there's an ethical standpoint here, right? Because real estate agents, we're here to help everybody, whether it be seller and buyer or whatever the case may be. I will tell you right now, if you're not paying a commission to a buyer agent, they can show up. The customer can show up at your door. They don't have to say that that person does not have to have an agent with them. If they want to go view that house, they don't have to have it. If there's no contract binding the buyer, because a lot of buyers don't sign the contract. Now, here's what happens. If a buyer signs a buyer agreement contract, yes, they got to go show this house. But also, now again, this is not legal advice, disclaimer, hello, I just want to point out some facts that I've seen, okay? That's all I'm going to point out here. It's not legal advice, not legal anything. I'm just trying to point out facts. I've seen for sale by owners advertising a house, okay? And I've been in many circles where agents have that the for sale by owner did not want to pay the buyer side. However, in the contract with the buyer, because the buyer signed a contract saying they're going to work with the buyer agent now has to pay that side, okay? So if they want to go see that house and there's a contract, yes, the agent needs to go to see that house because of they're in a contract saying they're going to help them. But guess what? The buyer is responsible for their pay at that point. That's the way that would work. So just imagine for a second, let's just say a buyer contract is in place. You're not paying for that buyer agent per se, or you're not. By the way, I'm going to flip the script in just a minute and tell you something about this whole buyer agent pay thing because I think it's important. So let's just say, for example, that they're in a contract, buyer's in a contract with the buyer agent, and they say, okay, we're going to go look at this house. Well, then the buyers would be responsible based off of whatever the contract could be. And then next thing you know, though, because the buyer's like, well, wait a minute. If I pick a different house, I don't have to pay that fee. I won't have to pay extra to buy that house, right? So that's one way of looking at it. So do you think your house is going to be, if you got buyers that are in the contract with you, do you honestly think that they're going to come to your house thinking that they got to pay on the back end of that? Probably not. They're not going to want to do that. I mean, that's just the way it is. Now, let me flip the script just a second to all these sellers, for sale by owners, and so forth, and this traditional, non-traditional type of brokerage type of scenario, right? This is one thing I really, really want to point out is that, I'll give away my secret, which, most realtors, they can do whatever they want to do, but I'm going to give away my secret right here. So if you're a realtor listening to this right now, you might learn of something here. So I don't go in with a mindset of I'm charging 6%. I don't go in a mindset I'm charging 10, 15%. I go in with that mindset. I go in with a mindset of saying, this is percent and these are the services you get. And I got several tiers broken down and what the services I'm providing to the seller. So for example, if I go into a thing, my lowest package of service, except for the month of July, which I'll talk about that in a minute, but I have the lowest percent of service is going to be around 5%. But I'm giving you a list of what I'm going to do for that 5%. Here's the best part. I don't make 5% if another agent brings in. So that 5% actually is covering a percent of whatever I need to give up to the other agent. Now, a lot of people like to say, well, the seller's paying the agent. Well, that's not true. That's not necessarily true because I have a percent set on a package of what I would like to make off that without an agent. I would love to make that without the agent. That's the purpose, right? However, with that being said, if another agent brings, I got to give up some of my profit for my business because this is what I'm evaluating the worth of me, the worth of my package, the worth of everything in the business is there. Okay, this is what I value at. So, in other words, for example, a lot of people think, and a lot of people don't know this, and I'm like I said, this is a free for all right now. I'm sharing some information that's probably vital to you as a for sale by owner, or just maybe you're already in a contract. Who knows? But what I will tell you is, in the contract of a listing contract, it does say, at least in the Florida one, I'm talking here in Florida, it does say how much the listing agent is going to give to a buyer, right? Or better yet, let's rephrase it the way that people are already stating this, which is how much a seller is going to be paying to a buyer agent. But in my mind, I don't look at it as the seller paying. I look at it as me having to pay because this is my percent that I want to make. This is what I make. I gave you a package. This is what I want to make. If I don't bring it, I have to rely on somebody else to bring it, then I'm not making the full Monty at that point, okay? So what I'm trying to explain to you guys out there, it says in that contract what it doesn't matter how you want to phrase this. It could be the listing agent or the seller has to pay to the buyer agent. Now again, me personally, I go based off of packages. These are important, okay? If you guys are not, I'm telling you right now, let me just stop. If you guys are out there and you're just blown away, give me a comment over here. Tell me where you're from. If you're not from Florida, tell me where you're from, whatever. Because I'm just curious to hear somebody's different opinion on this or different option or whatever. I really would love to hear. I'm open. Listen, I'm an open book. That's why people come to me. I make little cowboy videos every now and then to get people's attention. Hey, look at me. But listen, at the end of the day, if you a serious business person right here in front of you as you watch. So with that all being out there, that's the way that would work. But now in Rex's scenario, they're paying 2.5%, and that's why kind of question it, because they even told me, like I told you a while ago, it's 30 to 40%. That's their numbers. I don't know if, how true they are, but 30 to 40% is what they say a buyer agent actually brings when they advertise on Facebook. Now, the other thing, now most realtors, maybe I don't want to go that route, but some realtors, let's just say that, however you want to look at it, depending on what education level they're at, is they don't utilize digital marketing to the most to the fullest that they possibly can. Meaning that Rex, that's what their business model is based off of, is a digital marketing, maybe online and offline. There's two ways. I'm not going to go into everything on how to do that. You'd have to come and talk to me to really, as an agent. I know, because that's who's fiending right now is the agents to give out that information. But there's ways to do targeted marketing offline and online, and that's what Rex makes their business model off of. Okay, is off. They do this stuff online and offline. Okay, but I will tell you right now that even so, if you're advertising to a target market, you're still, it's like casting a small net, and you only want a certain amount of fish to go into that net, only a certain type of fish to go into this net. But we all know sometimes there's other things that come through the net, such as you got buyer agents, or better yet, let's say you got that small net cast and you get a nice fish, which is a buyer for yourself, and they're attached to a buyer agent, right? Then it goes back to playing into that scenario. Do they have a buyer agent contract in place with their agent? If they do, guess what? That could limit the factor of that buyer making a sound decision, even after they saw your house, sound decision if they would like to proceed or not with your house. So then that goes to the whole stipulation of understanding the different models and how you look at things. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull up. I was going to try to do this a while ago, so bear with me just a moment, because I got to look at my topics here before I get way off track, because that's what I tend to do. So I think I've kind of pointed out Rex's business model as it pertains to selling. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't inquire about the buying side. I know they have buyer agents, but I didn't inquire about that. Okay? Because in reality, the buyer agents, they just get paid off of showing stuff that's on the market. They don't, that's how the company gets paid, and maybe I don't know the whole details, right? I don't know. So I'm not going to comment on the buyer side. But they do have a buyer side to help. But I mean, we all know that the buyers right now currently, buyer agents, there's not a whole lot that happens unless there's a contract and so forth. So just kind of throwing that out there at this point. So the other thing is, and this is, let me back this up by stating this. So I went to, because I just wanted to know more about the customer experience as a seller, right? I want to know more about the customer's experience with Rex. Showing only 2.5%. I'm thinking, shoot, these customers have to be tickled to death that they went this way. I mean, if they saved a bunch of money, they have to be happy with their savings, right? That's what makes them. That's essentially why people go. They go after the discounted scenarios, because they're like, well, I don't have to give up all my money. I don't have to give up this amount. So I have to be the one. But, one of the things that I've always, people's probably even heard, and it's still true to this day, even with certain adventures that I've been on, you get what you pay for. Because here's what I did, and I'm going to do it right now just to prove my point, because I'm going to read verbatim of what's up here. So, let's go to, let me make sure, oops. Let's go. Better Business Bureau. So what I did is I went looking for Rex on the Better Business Bureau, because Better Business Bureau, I can tell you right now, it's a public information site about a business. You can go on there and look and see how you want to do business, whether you want to do business, whatever the case may be. So, the funny enough part, customer reviews, and I'm not making this up. I'm not. This is a fact. Okay. Customer reviews shows there's 16 customer reviews. It out of 5 stars, Rex on Better Business Bureau under customer reviews, guys. Go look it up yourself. I'm looking right at it. 2.5. Let's just, and then I have to say to myself, let me, benefit of the doubt, let me read some of these reviews, because why would they give them 2.5? They're saving so much money. There's this, there's that. I mean, there's paragraphs in here, guys. Paragraphs from people. The 5-star reviews, this is what's funny. Let me just make sure nothing new has come up since the last time I looked at this. Let's see. We use Rex to... Okay, there it is. Okay, so listen. Here's the funny part. I'm not kidding. If you want to go to... All right, so here's the ironic part. If you go on here and you look at all those bad reviews that are on here, and I say bad meaning 2 and below. If you look at bad reviews at 2 stars or below, those are all sellers. If you look at all the reviews that are positive, right, and they're 5-star, great job, those are buyers. Why? Go on there, read them yourself. You'll see why. I don't want to read because there's so much. There's so much. What's the word I'm looking for? So much information, detailed information that they actually went through, that the customer of them have went through. I know Rex has responded to the Rex real estate brokerage, exchange brokerage. Appears to responded to some of them. Some of the negative ones. There's even a spot to load more. Golly, and here's the thing. It's not like they're old reviews. The latest one that I see is 6/29/2021. So June of this year, at the end of June. So you might as well, yeah. So the June of this year, there's already a 1-star review for them. Now, there's no response to that one. There is a response to one that was in April of this year. And you know what? To be fair, let's see. Where's is it ever? Well, this ain't the one. I was going to be fair with them because I don't want to read it all right now. But to be fair, one of them that gave a bad review had nothing to do with their particular service. But there's plenty of other ones that have to do with their service. Okay, so but to be fair, they were one that I read that was a bad review that really had nothing to do with their service. It was somebody else giving an opinion on something. So I will, like I said. However, if you go through that Better Business Bureau, I mean, just to get here, all I had to do, just to kind of give you guys a scenario here, all I typed in is Rex Brokerage, and this is in Google, Rex Brokerage Better Business Bureau. And it's the first link that popped up for me. And then from there, you'll see everything. It gives them their information and so forth. Okay. They have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. They have customer complaints down here is 5 complaints in the last 3 years, 4 complaints closed in the last 12 months. Now, complaints and reviews are 2 different things. So, complaint is more of a formal thing when it comes to Better Business Bureau, okay? Which is why they have an A+. These are whatever. I don't know what allegations or whatever. But the reviews, That's where that's where customers come that feel less threatening, not have to make such a formal thing unless you're really been, maybe it's a legal issue, who knows. I don't have all the details on those complaints, but look at the reviews. 2.5 out of 5. That says enough. So here's the other thing. On one of the reviews I read, I remember saying that these salary people, they're pulling straight from like a real estate school with basically training them through their system, meaning that they can't think outside the box. They're only doing one open house or something. They're not even trying to sell it per se. There's so many things that I pulled out of one review that was just crazy to me, which goes back to interview and listen and make sure it's in writing. Interview and listen and make sure it's in writing. So here's my point. If you're going to hire a listing agent, I'm going to tell you to listen and make sure you know what you're doing. Now look, I'm going to show you something. Maybe I can prove my point with this. Let me see if I got it. I know I got something over here that's, I don't know if I have it over here right now. But I do have, it's probably another file. But listen, I do have a guide that's a checklist. It tells you everything I do. And if I go to the first appointment and I can't close the deal on the first appointment, because maybe I can't overcome some of their objections or whatever the case may be, that's fine. Maybe they want to interview others, that's fine. But I leave them my checklist, and I challenge the seller. Hey, go ask these same questions to the other people you're going to interview, the other people you're going to talk to, and see if they match up with what I'm going to do. Because at the end of the day, they're not going to match up with what I can do. They're just not. Nobody can be the same in the way they do, but I mean, my business model is totally different from somebody else's. Now, I'm going to venture back to something I said earlier, because I said I gave, a variety pack, lowest one was 5%, except for the month of July. Well, here's the thing. In the month of July, I did a zero listing, which actually brought me none. I did it for the whole month of July. I advertised 0% listing. That's what I said. 0% listing. People are like, well, how are you able to do 0% listing? Well, guys, here's the thing. If I can if everybody understands that realtors are individuals, businesses, okay? Every realtor is like an individual business, okay? So I run based off of rules and regulations. I run my business off of those rules and regulations. So how do I do 0%? Well, guess what? I put a flat rate based off of certain houses that are less than 1%. And I come in and I say, hey, here's what I can sell your house for. But this money has to be paid up front. So I'm getting paid before I sell the house. It's not the ideal business model that I like, because I feel like I get paid up front, so I don't have to do nothing, right? I don't care. And you still got to pay the buyer agent, but I don't care. I don't have to do nothing because you just paid me up front. Yeah, it's less than percent. Saves you a bunch of money when it does sell. But guess what? I don't have to worry about it. Well, that could be the same approach that a salary person could take. I mean, that 0% listing scenario is a same concept, if you will. This is not something you want to think about it. You get what you pay for at the end of the day. So make sure that if somebody's coming to you, and here's the other thing. If there's words that you hear and you're not understanding those words because maybe they're not in your lingo. It's just like you go to a doctor's office or you go to a doctor and you hear all the big words being used, and you're not in those circles of conversations, so you're not really going to understand those. So you have to ask the doctor, hey, break this down. Or even an attorney's office, legal matters, whatever. You got to ask them to break it down for you to get to understand it a little bit better. Same thing in any profession. I could be a welder out back. That could be whatever. If I don't understand the lingo that they speak to each other or to speak in general terms that they think everybody knows, then I'm not gonna know. So here's what I say: is if a realtor, and let me back up, a real estate agent, right? A real estate agent. This is a big difference between. There's no such thing as a realtor. It's just an association, right? But a real estate agent comes in and actually tells you, a real estate agent tells you, say, hey, whatever, and they use these terms, whatever the terms could be, and you don't understand any of what they just said. Hey, what does that mean? Hey, can you spell that out for me on the contract? I mean, simple as that. If they're not willing to do that, then they're probably not your best option. Just saying. This is kind of where I want you guys to understand that it's important for you guys to know the difference on all this. The other thing, know the type of advertisement is being done and how that helps you. Okay? The big thing is that a lot of people say, oh, I spend lots of money on advertisement. Lots of money on advertisement. What type of advertisement you do? Oh, we do paper ads. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, newspapers, I wouldn't waste my dollar on a newspaper ad right now. Unless it's a well-known, by the way, you look at Forbes magazine, you go look at some of the New York Times, guess what? Their paid subscriptions is online based. They switched it from an actual physical. And I can read everything right here on my phone. That's the nature of this. You guys got to get out of the habit of thinking that when people say paper, that it doesn't happen. It's not the best. For one, if somebody's doing that, to me, it's not the best bang for their buck. Okay. Two, I'll tell you that I feel that advertisement online is bigger, and we're not talking just Facebook. We're not talking just Instagram. All the other platforms that you think of social media. That's not just. These are just ways and avenues to get there. There's tons and tons of ways to really, really break it down even further. So just know that when I say digital marketing has nothing, that's social media. That's one way of doing it. You got to understand and have a key following on something. You got to make sure that agent has a good following. 200 plus people, that may follow this person on Instagram, that may follow them on Facebook, that may follow them wherever, their pages, whatever's going to get more eyes based off of their following. Because just remember, all those people. So if you're there now and you're thinking that, hey, what do I get out of this, right? Again, ask them, what are they going to do? Because listen, Rex is not putting it on MLS, which means that it does not necessarily syndicate to all sites. It will not syndicate to the hundreds of sites that's out there if it does not go on MLS. Also, oddly enough, they do put it on Zillow, which I thought was hilarious, considering that they again, I'll put the disclaimer. I don't know the details of it, but I know that they didn't make the comment on the phone with me that I said, hey, I think it's funny because you guys are suing Zillow. And he said, yeah, but I can't go into it, whatever. Or maybe he said he even indulged a little too far. I thought that was hilarious because they use Zillow even though they're suing Zillow. I don't know the details of the legal battle, but anyways, it blew my mind. Okay. But I also know that I've seen somebody complain about it being under a certain category in Zillow that Rex used, and that's just like as if it was a for sale by owner category versus just doing it themselves, So it's because the way Zillow syndicates. If it comes through an MLS syndication, then it goes into this category. If it goes through a different syndication, it goes in that category. So again, it's ask how they're going to market your property. And if they say target marketing, that's great. What does that mean? Somebody like yourself, I'm not going to explain it here, but if I was your agent, I would definitely explain this to you. But I'm just telling you, if they say target marketing, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. If I'm a regular Joe, had no experience, I mean, you're talking to somebody who has 5 years, 6 years of digital marketing experience, has traveled to talk to some of the biggest people and marketing. I've talked to several people that's on high end. I still got them on different platforms that I still communicate with. Guys, I mean, come on, ask them. What does that mean, target marketing? Target marketing does not mean it's going to sell your house. Essentially, that's what they want. But it may not be the best route because, you have to go different platforms because sometimes target marketing, they're trying to, let's say you have $1 million home, right? There's a target, because by the way, Facebook, just so you guys are aware, it's been about 2 years, I think, maybe a year and a half, somewhere around there. They made the rules change. So you can't be as niche targeted on Facebook. You can't be as niche targeted on certain ways, but there's other ways of doing that. But I don't know if that's what they're doing. That's the point. So not to get so into target marketing because I can go speak volumes on it because I've done it for so long. Just know that at the end of the day, that ask them the question. Make sure they define every verb, everything that they're holding on to, especially any action word that they're taking, that they're trying to use to sell you on. Make sure you know the definition of that. I don't even know what number I'm on, but let me just review my topics, make sure I covered them. What point in a review, Rex business model? So I told you about that. Understand why traditional could be better. I've already kind of touched on that because you're just going to you're going to pay more, but at the end of the day, you're going to get better service. And I've already kind of went over that. Interview and listen. Make sure it's right. Told you that. Make sure when you interview and listen to what's being said. Understand the definition of advertising, which I've just covered. Now, last but not least, so important. The contracts, so with here in Florida, if you're part of a board, realtor association board, whatever, you have contracts already that are pretty much done by attorneys that you can utilize. And knowing that contract, if your listing agent knows that contract very well, which they should, whether it's a sell contract, listing contract, whatever the case may be, then it's going to be better for you because they're going to know how to establish certain things within those contracts to make sure that it's beneficial to you, especially on a purchase contract. They're also going to be able to read over those contracts and be able to advise you the best. Okay, these are things that you want to look at and understand. I know that they have a lot of verbiage on a contract, huge, right? So it's your job, and this is just the simplest way for me to put it. You got to be able to ask the right questions. The problem is with the business model of a salary paid person. You might ask the right question, but they may not know the answer because they may be brand new out of real estate school with no guidance on how to do a contract, or maybe Rex's contract, because that's another thing. You're not talking about a standardized contract. You're talking about a Rex contract that could be, and just like when you go to a home builder, same concept. You're using a home builder's contract. You're not always using the what's in the associations that's been revised by attorneys and so forth. You may be using a builder contract that has no. I'm sure. Let me back up. I'm pretty positive that most big box builders are utilizing a contract that is going to protect them the best that they can. And just remember, it's on their benefit, not the buyers, essentially. And same thing with Rex. They could have their own separate contract. I don't know this for fact, but I'm just giving you an example. If you see something come up and you never, maybe you need to do a couple interviews before you make that decision and look at the contracts and see the difference. but more than likely they're gonna protect and make sure that that they get their money. I mean, because they're doing it for 2.5%. You go around and you go to sell your home to somebody else while you're under contract. That could be a breach. I mean, that could be a breach in anybody's contract. I'll tell you that right now. We have certain things in that, but here's the difference. At least with me, we're gonna break it down. I'm gonna show you what that's gonna cost you. I'm gonna show you everything that's positive, negative. Let me say pros and cons. I don't want to say negative because it may never be a negative thing because everything goes smooth, everything's good. Which, by the way, I haven't had a negative situation with mine, and I've done several. So again, you're dealing with if you're going with Rex and you're dealing with the guy who's getting paid salary, he don't care. What does he care? That's the company. He's just there working. He's just have you ever heard the term? I just work here. I mean, he kind of that's the way I would view it. I just work here. Who cares? I don't care. Customer service sucks. I don't care. I just work here. They think like that. A lot of people do. I don't want to say they, but they. It's a known type of quirk if you ask me. But nonetheless, so make sure you know the contracts. The contracts is key. Making sure you understand this contracts. If you are going to go with a discounted brokerage, I would encourage you to go to a real estate attorney to review that contract with you. Because remember, that's a whole different business model than the norm. So they're looking out for their best interest into the company sometimes. And don't get me wrong, in the listing contracts with realtors, we're looking out for the best interest, but we're also looking out for yours. So it's a lot different. It could be a lot different contract. I don't know. I'm assuming that they're going to have a different contract. If I'm wrong, hey, sorry about that. But disclaimer, opinions. So just put that out there. Before you guys sign on the dotted line, give me a call. Give me an opportunity to come out and talk to you. If you're a for sale by owner, contemplating listing your house with a cheaper brokerage, I have options available that can be cheaper for you. I have options, and I went over those options. I've told you about those options. But I would love to be the person to help you. I mean, my little key in the background there. I want you guys to hold it, take a picture, so we can show that we get it done. I know that right now, buyers are starting to slow down just a little bit. So we're starting to see, and this is all opinion again. I just say this disclaimer, but I'm starting to see, at least on my side, a nice, which is a good thing, is a flat line right now, which means that we're starting to level out, which is perfect. We're not going down, we're just leveling. So whatever the prices are right now, maybe it's probably going to be the new norm. So those that are out there right now, you're going to see a new norm. And listen, you're going to need people to bring buyers to you. And when a buyer comes, and if they have to pay the buyer agent, guess what? Your house is probably not going to be the best option for them because they're going to have to pay more. But hey, I can run business models like that for the buyer agent. I can, just like I do for the sellers. Hey, I don't, you can pay me a flat rate whether you buy a house or not. Simple. I'll stay with you, show you every house you want. But this is the flat rate. This is how many doors I'm doing. This is how many, whatever. There's so many different ways to run a business in this model. It doesn't scare me of anything. I don't think of Rex. I think Rex has a very, just so let me end everything on this note, right? Because I don't want to ramble too much more, but I think Rex has a idea business model for certain people. But in other avenues, I think that traditional brokerages is going to be a better option for everybody, even though they're going to have to pay X amount. Think about it like this. If you have a very little equity in your house, but you need to sell it because of whatever reason, but you only have a smidgen of equity in it, maybe Rex brokerage is for you. But I wouldn't rule out traditional brokers that could possibly come and work with you like myself. I've done marginal profits. If I say, if I come to you and I work the numbers based on estimates and stuff like that, and I say, hey, yeah, we can make it work if we do it this way, you know. But if not, it's not because of service. Just remember that. That's, and I'm just basing off the Better Business Bureau. You guys can check out. So, anyways, this is my. I've been wanting to make this video ever since I had that encounter with their guy on the phone and me reviewing the Better Business Bureau. This has been one of my things that I just really wanted to hound out. So please share the video. This was me more going on information purposes. Hopefully this serves some great information for those out there that are either for sale by owner or whatever, thinking about selling their home, or even, agents that are out there that can go and look up the information themselves and kind of, grasp and help you out. Really, it could help help an agent out. It could help with the information I provided here. It could help an agent out. It can help sellers out, whether they're for sale by owner or whatever. Listen, this information was just me based on the experience that I had and that I came across, and how I would do my research if I was because I truly was looking at them as an option, but they're not an option, right? They're not. The fine print was, it's not good. It's just not good. But nonetheless, just wanted to throw that out there to you guys. I don't know what else to say other than thank you. Please share the video if you felt that you got some valuable information. I know it's a long one, but at least get out there and share the video. So thank you guys. Take it easy.